Well, Russia gets aggressive. Now, actually not quite aggressive, but the Cold War is basically heating up or getting colder, however you want to put that. But in Ukraine this morning, looks like Russian tanks, artillery, anti-aircraft, weapons have been rolling in through the porous Ukraine borders and being backed up by the Russian Empire itself, right? Now, I think a lot of this junk is being orchestrated on purpose. I mean, not just recently, but I think it's pretty much running off a plan. Another thing is Putin also said that they're going to be flying Russian strategic bombers over from the Arctic all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, getting closer and closer to the United States, the Tu-95. And over the recent weeks or so, there's been a lot of close call incidents between Russian planes and NATO forces. Now, I think the whole thing's contrived. You know, I remember way back when the Soviet Union fell apart. I think they tore down the Berlin Wall in November 1989. I believe that was the time. I remember like everybody telling me, "Oh yeah, it was like they couldn't pay their bills, their electric bill on a naval facility, and you know we beat them, we won the Cold War." And you know, I was reading Major Anatoly Golitsyn, you know, all these years before that, and he said it was long-range strategic deception. He predicted all that stuff, and he says long-range after that, they would go back to doing what they were doing. But, you know, the thing is, maybe what Major Anatoly Golitsyn might have missed is that the Russian leaders and the Western leaders are all in cahoots with each other. So, these Cold War tensions are pretty much coinciding with the change in the political environment in the United States, which would mean more impetus for, you know, the military-industrial complex coming from the Republicans, right? What the hell else is new? And you know, maybe they got the World War III plan. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't like to think that, but they might. But I know one thing. If I am considered alternative media, say I am considered that, I am not going to be one of these alternative media people cheering on Russia. No way in hell. And the other thing is, you know, we might start to see a retracement in the U.S. dollar. Now, there is pretty much, and they know this. I mean, J.P. Morgan will tell you this. You can get these, I don't know what the hell it is, some kind of financial instruments that are inverse relationship to the U.S. dollar. Well, the inverse relationship to the U.S. dollar is pretty much the commodities. So, when the dollar's flying high, the commodities are sinking low. And also, the emerging nations are sinking low. You know, their stocks and stuff like that. Now, unfortunately, you know, if we make more money on the silver and junk like that, you know, the dollar's going to be flying low. Unfortunately, I'm not one of these not unfortunately, but I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people are these anti-USA people. I'm not one of them. And I'm not just saying I'm a flag waver. But I realize, you know, in Vlad's country, you know, Vladimir Putin, you know, you say the elections might be rigged in the United States. Maybe they are. But, you know, some of the stuff over there in Vladland, it's like, you know, I'll give you an example. One district, they had 146% of the vote turned out for Putin. 46% of the eligible voters, over 100%, 146% in one district turned out for Putin. So you tell me that's not rigged? That's rigged. You know, at least we don't have one guy in office basically since the year 2000 that was a KGB thug that liked to murder people left and right? So anyway, I mean, it's a minor. We got a little bit better deal than that, that's for sure. So, but I do think if there may be orchestrated, contrived tensions between East and West. Orchestrated, contrived, in other words, on purpose. It's good for the military-industrial complex. It's good for control over people. It's good for bringing more power to the state, you know, the government itself. It's bad news for the people. So all these tensions, it may be that the Western leaders and Putin are working together. You got to remember, it's almost like the Democrats and Republicans. They may compete, but they pretty much work for the same New World Order damn goal. For most of them anyway. So when Vladimir Putin is telling you alternative stuff, he's probably just reading off a line, tells you some crap you want to hear. He's just as bad as any of them. So, but it does look like there's going to be a change in market direction pretty soon. I don't know when this is going to come out exactly. But, the likes of, Rivera and Gerald Celente and, all these other people to be cheering on a downfall of the United States. I am not going to be doing that. And what this kid's going to be doing is a little bit more on the hands-on type of stuff, especially in the field of energy and health, because that's when we can really get them. And, one problem we actually have in the West, too, and also it's even a problem in Russia, is aging demographics. And that affects the economy because, the vitality of the worker is no longer there. But if you keep the vitality up, you got the same, if you add the vitality of a younger person with the skills and experience of the older person, you got a winning combination. So a lot of times, health could be actually something that could bring up the power of the United States again. And it's not going to be through Obamacare. It's going to be through alternative health, quote unquote, and holistic health. So that's one way of thinking outside the box to fight the New World Order all the way. But, I have to state this, that, Vladimir Putin is not against the New World Order. He's part of it. And I will reiterate this again from other videos that I put out. If he was against the New World Order, he would be a proponent of industrial hemp, but he's not, because that would hurt his pocketbook because he's into the oil. He would also be into these holistic methods where the Russians have they actually have more complex healing wave type machines that their cosmonauts actually use them. They call them Sinar, and their athletes use them in the Olympics for actually restoring the body and also fighting disease. It can give you biofeedback and basically send the right frequencies into the body to heal the body. The stuff can be mass-produced dirt cheap, especially in conjunction with China. But no. That's only for the freaking top guys. It's only for the elite. So, he's a game player too, big time, man. All of them are. All of them are on the top. Just remember that, big time. So anyway, it looks like Russia is getting a hell of a lot more aggressive, but that may be according to a plan all the way. I think so, because Major Golitsyn said so. But one thing I think that Major Golitsyn probably didn't see, because he realized what was going on in the inside Russian circle. But the overall plan is probably generally working together. The East and the West are generally working together in not exactly unison perfect. But, the Cold War, basically, if you look at what Professor Anthony Sutton said, I read, a lot of people commented, but I read his books way before the internet was around. I'm way aware of what was going on from a long time ago. Basically, all the Soviet technology, even way back when the Cold War was going, it was all coming from the U.S. or from the West, one way or the other. And they were allowed to get it because it basically gives more impetus for money and public support to the military-industrial complex, more power to the state, and it also regionalized the militaries through UN and NATO and took away from nationalism. So anyway, I can kind of see what's going on with this deal all the way, but where it's going, I don't know exactly. We could possibly be going to a global conflict eventually, and if that's the case, you definitely will see your commodities go way up. But you don't want that type of, you don't want them to go up and under that type of situation. You'd rather have it to go up in their peacetime situations. But what I personally am going to do is I am going to keep buying more and more types of tools and things like that I can actually be 110% more self-sufficient as possible. And you should too. You should too. I'll probably pick up another better type of welder, good, better quality MIG welder and stuff, instead of the junk I got that turned out to be made in China. When I didn't know it was made in China. I got it a long time ago, and when I took it out of the box, it was screwed up, and I kind of fixed it so it works, but still a piece of shit. But I'm actually going to be investing some of my money that way because piecemeal, because I just can't. There's a lot of it takes a lot to keep all this stuff. But the thing is, if Americans are all 100% independent all the way, you know what that means? We govern. We are the voice of the government. The government doesn't tell us what to do. And the New World Order doesn't tell us what to do either. Nobody does. So you actually have to be, in a real way, 100% independent. And most people, what it really involves is work, physical work, physical know-how, striving, and learning stuff. So actually, I'm going to start I've been getting a little bit away from the desk jockey stuff. I was into it a lot before, but I was always a little bit into the blue collar stuff a little bit. I kind of know some stuff, but I'm actually getting a lot more into the blue collar stuff. But there's two areas I really want to concentrate on the most is energy and also the health. And you notice I do have a lot of health videos out there, but Vladimir Putin with his billions of dollars and his access to the best engineers in the world, he can have everybody in Russia have a free Rife machine. You can have biofeedback devices. You can improve the health of the Russian people vastly. He won't. He's an elitist asshole too. Just remember that. Because, we got like a charade going on, East versus West. They're both a bunch of scumbags on both sides. They're both screwed up. And it looks like this deal with Russia getting more aggressive lately was probably all planned from the beginning. It's coinciding with the political party that basically got into power now, which is more into the military-industrial complex. And, even like when you say the Republicans, had a big sweep against the Democrats, it doesn't mean the country moved towards its founding roots of the Constitution, because the Republicans have gone so far socialistic and left-wing that, I don't have a problem with helping people like socialism like that, or be open and, a free and open society. I'm not talking about that. But the Republicans have gotten so much where they're like statist socialists that they resemble the Democratic Party of 30 years ago. So even though there was this change, there's not a change. The whole thing, both political parties are moving more and more towards communism to the max. And the only way to stop that is to be 110% independent yourself all the way. So Mr. Vlad is playing his part, I think, in the New World Order by playing his role, playing a role. That's what he's doing, I think. I really do think he's doing that. It may not be something that's well known. I'm smelling this. That's what I'm smelling. Because actually, if you really look all the way back, the U.S. had a lot more control over Gorbachev, Brezhnev, Khrushchev, and Stalin, all the way back. The Western elite, in other words, maybe not the U.S. population, but the Western elite always had control over them. And every time a new guy came in, they blamed it on the old guy. Khrushchev blamed everything on Stalin, Brezhnev blamed everything on Khrushchev, Gorbachev blamed everything on Brezhnev, and Putin's blaming everything on the guys before him, and all this other bullshit. And when somebody wins an election so many times over, for so many years in a row, and he's going to be president, he'll probably be president until at least 2024, actually, because they got 6-year terms. He wins the next one again, he's going to be in power for 24 years, probably, and that's going to make him more powerful than any czar. And don't tell me the Russian people are just voting for this guy out of oh yeah, we want this guy over and over again. Especially when you got a district that had 146% of the eligible voters vote for Putin. So it's a game, man. It's a game. It's a game, and the game is on us. And actually, in Russia, I tell you one little fact too. It's almost like you say, the USA's got, you know how much land there is in the United States out west. It's open and free, and like there's nobody over there. Like you go look for miles and around, and nothing's there. Russia's got over twice the territory as the U.S. with about basically half the population, about half the population. So it's 4 times less densely populated. But if you look at Western Russia, the part that's more towards Europe, that's where 75% of the population is. The big 75% of Russia that's in Asia, that's where the least amount of Russians live. So they got huge expanses of territory. So you wonder what the hell are they going into the Crimea or the Ukraine for? I mean, all that freaking territory that's open over there, what do they need more territory for? They don't even have enough. The population's going down. So what the hell are they doing? What are they doing? What are they trying to do? And if Vladimir Putin was such a good guy, he'd be allowing all these peasants in Russia to grow industrial hemp left and right, and they'd be able to fuel their own cars and own tractors without having to buy it from iGas or Rosneft or anything like that to run all the products. But nah. Because industrial hemp produces 10 times the amount of gasoline than, say, a corn product would, right? Actually, that's what Henry Ford envisioned in the first place. He wanted most of the gasoline to come from alcohol, not from gasoline, not from crude oil. Actually, I had this on here. You know who actually screwed him up on that plan? It was John D. Rockefeller. He gave the women's suffrage movement $4 million way back when, to help in their crusade to ban alcohol. Not because he was trying to get liquor or the devil's liquor away from the lips of people and cause all these problems. Now, he didn't like the competition from the farmers. So if they couldn't manufacture alcohol, in other words, the liquor, he gave $4 million to the women's suffrage movement. So they couldn't, they would stop the manufacture of alcohol. And that was a hard thing to pass in the Congress because everybody was a drinker, but it was the manufacture of alcohol, so just keep a 20-year supply. and they passed it, He bribed them and all that other shit. So Henry Ford himself actually wanted to have it that way, where you get the stuff from plant-based materials, and this way any farmer could be their own gas station. Vladimir Putin could do this easily in Russia if he says every farmer makes hemp. Hemp produces 10 times the amount of freaking fuel. As a matter of fact, Rudolf Diesel, the one that made the diesel engine, and he had died under mysterious circumstances too, by the way. He actually wanted his diesel engine was designed originally to run off of hemp oil, not hemp gasoline, but hemp oil itself. That was Rudolf Diesel. So the big oil cartel, he's part of it too, man. And that Western Oil is all part of it. Now, the next thing they're going to run into, if, say, we go to free energy, they're going to control the water. If you let them. I'm not. Hey, man, just do what? You got to fight them back in every way. We got to be independent all the way. Anyway, over and out. Just want to have a little semi-pep talk here in a way because I don't know what's going on in the markets right now. They look stagnant, but I know when the dollar crashes and the markets crash, silver's going to look good. And all these anti-USA people are going to be coming out, kissing Vladimir Putin's ass. And I'm not. That's bullshit. Anyway, over and out.